Your love is lifting me higher. Your love is lifting me higher. Your love is lifting me higher. Tenderly, fatherly, you care for us. You care for us. Only you can set us free, Lord.
Alright, what's up viewers that I don't have? I'm back, unfortunately. Today I'm changing a radiator on my hatch because it's been overheating for about 2 months now. I've changed a couple things. I've looked for other problems that it could be besides the radiator. And basically the radiator is just my last resort, so I'm going to change it today. Right now I'm just on my way back home from buying some coolant from Pep Boys, and I'm just going to jump straight into the swap. Alright guys, so since my hood is not bolted on completely, I'm just going to remove it just to make the process easier. So just in case anybody was wondering what I have in here, it's a B20 VTEC GSR head, B20 high compression block, and a GSR transmission. Basically the whole thing is stock. I got a Golden Eagle head gasket. That's about it done to the actual engine, and I got, you know, some bolt-on parts, but that's about it. Okay, since I'm not 100% sure that the radiator was actually causing the overheat itself, I wanted just to buy a cheap one. So with no hesitation, I just eBayed this shit like no tomorrow. It came with the fan, you know, just regular eBay shit. Nothing special here. It's a dual core. My previous one is a triple core. And I'm also changing my thermostat and gasket because currently I have no thermostat in due to removing it because I thought it would decrease the overheating. Alright, so the reason why I'm not sure 100% if the radiator is actually causing overheat is because to be a true professional homemade mechanic, you never diagnose the problem completely and just throw parts at it and make sure they're eBay. Alright, so I actually found a crack, I don't know if you guys can see that, in the red overflow hose right there. So that is probably causing overheat. I don't know if you can see that. So that's actually a piece of metal from the radiator. Just snapped off. Alright, so the tools I'll be using today are these long reach 90 degrees pliers. I got an extra hose clamp. I got a 19 socket, a 10 socket, an extension, a number 4 Allen key. I got a pair of channel locks. I got a ratchet. This is not Harbor Freight, by the way. This is professional. I got a flathead screwdriver and a pair of dikes. Alright, so before you do anything, make sure that the engine is completely cool. Make sure it's not hot at all because you will be working on it, obviously, and you don't want to burn yourself. Alright, so the first thing I'll be doing is draining the coolant, draining the radiator. You want to take the cap off to make this a little easier, make the coolant flow out easier. Now, to drain the coolant, I'm just going to show you on the new radiator. To drain the coolant, there is a nut right here on the old one that you remove to drain the coolant. On the new one, it's just a twist on, a hand twist on, but on the old one, it's a 19mm nut that you just loosen and you drain the coolant that way. You can also just remove the lower radiator hose and it'll drain the same way, so yeah. Alright, so I do have a pan underneath to catch the coolant, by the way. Alright, so this is the nut. Alright, so after you drain the coolant, you want to remove the lower and upper radiator hose and also the overflow tank. My overflow tank just clicks in. You can just lift it up. This also has coolant in it sometimes. Well, most times. And yeah, so. Alright, so to remove the hoses, I'm just going to grab these pliers right here. I'm doing this by one hand, by the way. So, you just remove it. Alright, so. And then just pull the hose out. And then do the same for the bottom. Alright, so for the lower radiator hose, I'm removing it off from the thermostat housing instead, just because I'll need to remove that anyway to get to the thermostat. So I could just pull the radiator out with it on, then disconnect it from the bottom. So my tie down is a number 4 Allen. This is a Password JDM tie down, by the way. I'm just gonna unscrew that. Okay, so you want to disconnect the fan before trying to pull up the radiator. So I have a zip tie to the headlight here. I'm just gonna clip that off. Get the wires. Then these are taped up with the screw-on wire connectors. I'm just gonna untape that, then unscrew the wire connectors. Alright, so this is what it looks like underneath the tape. You just wanna unscrew these. Okay, so now that everything's disconnected, you could just lift the radiator up. Like I said, this is coming with the lower radiator hose. So I disconnected it from the thermostat housing. Now this might leak a little still. Just gonna lift it up. I'm gonna put it here to the side. Actually, let's turn it around like this. So you can see where the overflow metal connector just snapped off. I see no holes in the radiator itself though. So to put in the thermostat, I'm just gonna remove the intake. This intake right here, just to make it easier for me to get in there. And that is held on by two 10mm nuts. So to remove the intake, you just want a flat screwdriver, and all you gotta do is loosen this clamp right here till it's loose. Then you could just pull this right out. Now to get a better look at the thermostat housing, it's that right there, and it's held on by that bolt right there and that bolt right there, and those are both 10mm. Now you want to watch out when you take them off with this sensor. You want to unplug this just in case you yank too hard and you break the sensor wire off. So you want to pull this out. Alright, so I finally got a photographer now. I'm not doing this one-handed operation recording. I'm gonna remove the thermostat housing. It's a 10mm. Now you also want to remove this ground wire right here, because you don't want to pull the thermostat housing out and yank it off by accident. Alright, so I just like to put the bolt back where I found it so I know where it is when it's time for installation, and just move the wire off to the side along with the plug. Alright, so I removed both thermostat housing bolts. You could just pull it out now. I when I removed the thermostat, I did leave the gasket in here, so I'm removing that and placing the new one. Alright, so when you buy, if you have an LS VTEC or a B20 VTEC swap, make sure you get the thermostat for the block and not the head, because this is a problem. This is a common problem, and I actually did it. And you want the new gasket that comes with it as well. Well, actually, it doesn't come with it. It's separate. Get this one as well. Alright, so here's the thermostat. And like I said, the thermostat I bought is for the B20 block and not the head. Alright, so for the thermostat, there's a little nip over here. Make sure you get that exactly where the gasket goes. And then the two little nudges on the gasket go outward. So, on the face. Well, this way. Alright, so when you get the gasket on, it should look something like this. So I'm just gonna insert the thermostat now. And make sure the little nipple and the little nudges on the gasket line up with where they sit, because it only sits one way. Make sure you get that correct. Alright, so now I'm installing the
reason I'm close is because
the thermostat housing lid. Just bolt on both bolts. Alright, so after you get both bolts on for the thermostat housing, you wanna put the ground back on. Which is another 10mm bolt. Tighten that. And then you wanna put the sensor plug back in. Just clicks on like that. Right. So right now I'm just putting these fan tie downs to hold the fan onto the radiator. Alright, so these tie downs that come with the radiator freaking suck. Do not use them. They're gonna mess your radiator up. I'm actually taking the Haggard garage method with the 2 zip ties, and this works way better. Alright guys, so as you can see, I'm missing one rubber mount for the radiator to sit in. So what I'm gonna do is take an old skateboard truck bushing and use that instead. This works great.
I'll rubber mallet.
Alright, so this is what it should look like when you get the 2 bushings on the bottom peg. Something like that. Alright, so I got everything reconnected. All the hoses, lower and upper. And I also got the wires redone. So after you do all that, it's time to fill it up with coolant. Alright, so I'm using Peak concentrate. I'm not using the 50/50. And I got 2 gallons here. Whatever I need more, I'm just gonna add water since it's not the 50/50. Alright, so after you fill it up, you want to turn the car on and bleed the system. And that's about it. Thanks for watching.